So, Dille, da sind wir beim dritten Teil von The Beginning, The Ballad Singer. Mit dem Barden an sich haben wir ja schon gespielt. Gerade eben, Dargast. Davor mit Angelino und jetzt schauen wir mal, wie das Beginn mit ihr aussieht. Ja, im Prolog hat man, wie gesagt, die beiden. Und dann schauen wir mal, wie die Geschichte bei ihr weitergeht oder bei ihr überhaupt voranschreitet. Beim letzten Mal sind er und sie sich in die Wege gekommen, sozusagen. Die Geschichten haben sich gekreuzt. Deswegen glaube ich, sobald es veröffentlicht ist und man auch über diesen Part hinaus spielen kann, kann man das, was wir jetzt hier machen, so gar nicht nochmal machen. Denn ich stehe immer an dem Punkt, ich suche mir jetzt einen von den 4 aus und dann geht's weiter. Schauen wir einfach mal, wie sich das hier bei ihr jetzt weiterentwickelt. Ich hoffe, der Prolog ist auch bei ihr durch. Ja, ist er. Dann sehen wir uns mal an, wie das mit ihr weitergeht. Hier meine E-Zigarette, ne? Eine Alien.
You succeeded in your first mission. You tracked down Daragast and returned to the Resistance headquarters. After coming back, you enjoyed some well-deserved time off. Now, both you and Raymond are eagerly awaiting for the warrior bard's arrival. Finally, on a sunny morning, Daragast reaches the village. You can't take your eyes off of him. Despite being a middle-aged man, you find him charming, and his clothes still reveal a toned body, ready for action. You decide to make the first move. About time you got here.
Had any doubts?
He replies, half smiling. No, and neither did Raymond.
Good. Would you take me to him?
Of course. You smile back at him, but Daragast evokes conflicting emotions within you. While his presence is reassuring, you can feel how dangerous he could be. Part of you has trouble being at ease around him. You escort Daragast to the largest tent in the village. Inside, a handful of men whisper as they study a map laid out upon the table. As you step in, one of them raises his head, crossing his gaze with the bard.
Raymond,
says Daragast, bowing.
Daragast.
It's the only word he says, and he lets it out as a sigh. You two must have many things to discuss. It would be better leaving you alone. You take your leave as a sign of respect. A nod from the wizard dismisses all the other men who follow you outside. Nobody leaves the surroundings, though. Raymond will be calling for you shortly. Many crucial decisions are to be made, and you will need to be there. As expected, Raymond summons you shortly after. You don't all go back inside. Just 2 wizards, a warrior, and yourself. You are the Resistance's advisors, and as such, take part in every meeting. As you sit, Raymond starts talking with the authority he deserves, directly addressing Daragast.
We need your help. Your presence here restores our souls, but it's not just that. You could help us find new allies to plan an offensive strike against Leon. Your opinion and your support are pivotal to us.
Raymond is desperate. He has no idea how to proceed. He can't figure out how to stop his former student.
you're talking to a man who can't do anything more than brandish a rapier against common enemies. Ghosts of the past are a completely different story. That sylph Ancoran is really good. She could certainly do better than me.
Your reaction to the unexpected praise is an ill-concealed sneer.
Ancoran's abilities indeed make her a precious asset, but in a different way. Each one of us is essential to the cause. As you accepted our summons, well, I believe you might want to help us.
Raymond replies.
Of course. Choosing where to start from is a challenge. Only 3 people might help us. An assassin, a bard, and a former outlaw. You already know 2 of them.
We'll need the help and experience of all 3.
The wizard replies.
Perfect. I'll leave first thing tomorrow morning.
It looks like the time has already come for Daragast, your new ally, to make some choices that will impact the Resistance's future. You could potentially intervene to try and find out a bit more about the 3 men the bard will try to recruit. You watch as Raymond and Daragast discuss the matter. The warrior bard must make an important decision regarding his own destiny, and you don't want to interfere. You admire him, even though you don't really understand why. He's fascinating, even though he's much older than you are. Besides, you're a sylph and he's a human. You shake your head to get rid of these awkward thoughts and focus on the present.
You'll also get something else.
Raymond adds, after silently watching your exchange. As he catches everyone's attention, you wonder what he has in store. Raymond heads to a large wooden ottoman you hadn't noticed yet. Carefully, he takes a key hanging from his neck that had been hidden under his clothes. He turns it in the lock and opens the lid. From within, he takes a bundle of rolled fabric, long and thin. Raymond lays the package on the table. Everyone's eyes are attracted to it, even those who just stand there without saying a word.
It looks like a sword,
Whispers the warrior.
How insightful!
Replies one of the wizards caustically. You let the three taunt each other. They're just innocent jibes. However, as Raymond unties the bundle, a beautiful rapier is revealed and everyone goes silent. 4 differently colored gems decorate the hilt. The first one is brown, representing the power of earth. The others are red, for fire, blue, recalling the strength of water, and finally, a colorless jewel embodies the power of air. The 4 magic stones protect the sword's bearer, but they may do much more. You've heard of the rapier many times, but you never thought you'd see it with your own 2 eyes.
The Sword of Ruin.
Daragast murmurs.
Precisely.
Replies Raymond. Everyone is quiet, dumbfounded, even daunted. Even you can't speak. You feel as if your tongue is stuck to your palate. That weapon could be extremely dangerous in the wrong hands, and you had no idea Raymond had it. He's entrusting it to Daragast, and you wonder how it could play out.
How did you get it?
Questions the bard.
I seized it after the destruction of the Tower of Balinor. It's a long story and there's no time now. Just know that I got lucky, and that this is our only hope against Leon. Today, like many years ago, it's up to you to carry it.
Daragast reaches out with a hand, accepting the rapier, and straps it to his side. The meeting proceeds, and you update the newest member on the Resistance's situation. Finally, as everyone is leaving, you offer to take Daragast to his tent. You've been attracted to him since your first encounter, which is something you've never experienced before. It doesn't matter to you that he's not in his prime. He's fascinating, and his experience is as precious as youth. You're torn. You'd like to be bold, but you're afraid to get burnt by a man who is just about to leave.
Na dann. Gucken wir mal.
You must be tired. You'll want to rest a bit. You test your ground, anxiously waiting for his reaction.
We could keep talking inside.
He gets straight to the point. Even though you'd hoped he'd say that, the spontaneous gesture almost catches you off guard, stealing you a smile. Why not? As he lifts up the tent's flap, you go in before him. It will be a long, busy night. His lodging has a few blankets folded up in a corner, a table with some clean water for washing, and a small cabinet with drinks and glasses.
Drink something?
He asks kindly. You gladly accept. Daragast fills 2 glasses with red wine and hands you one of them as the cups clink. I grew up hearing stories of your youth, the feats of the strongest warrior in Hesperia. Would you tell me some more? A shadow stains Daragast's face. He wasn't expecting the conversation to turn out like this. However, he immediately shakes it off.
Come, let's sit.
You nod as he opens the blankets. There you both sit, glasses in hand.
I traveled a lot, and my past has been less than pleasant, full of blood. I was a gladiator in the arenas. Friendly skirmishes at first, but then I was forced to fight in death matches. I'm not proud of everything I've done. My life changed when I lost my wife.
Daragast pauses briefly, but you would like to know more. You were married?
Yes, but she left me for another man. I found out he beat her, and when he crossed the line, I made him pay. She died, but I took his life.
Silence looms over both of you for a while. You know all too well how reminiscing about the past can hurt.
How about you? It's your turn now.
Daragast says, before taking another sip from his glass.
Oh, das scheint dann also genau dieselbe Geschichte zu sein wie bei Dargast, die wir in der Folge vorher hatten, nur halt von der anderen Seite. Wir bleiben einfach mal dabei. Ja, sie beantwortet die Fragen, Nacht zusammen und dann...
My parents were poor, and they had hoped that could give me a better chance in life. They couldn't have imagined what they would have done to me later. They were experimenters, outlaws for their very order. They operated on children secretly to create new races and to study the effects of magic. Their intent was to mutate living beings. So, here I am. Silence falls over the two of you once again. Only this time, it has a different quality to it. Intimacy envelops you, as if in an enchanted cocoon. You lower your head to the glass, but are not thirsty. Daragast leans in closer and hugs you. His gesture is sweet and spontaneous, but the warmth of his body is an irresistible temptation. Finally, the moment reaches its climax. You look at each other for a moment, and to both your heart's agreement, you kiss and allow passion to take over. You wake up in a tent that isn't yours. The blanket next to you is empty. You slept so well that you didn't even hear Daragast leave. The sun is already high in the sky, and your bard has already left for his mission. You wonder if you'll ever see him again. Anyway, your heart has a new hope now. You go to see Raymond, expecting to be assigned a new task. Now that the situation is moving along, you don't want to be left sitting on your hands.
Ja, und hier ist dann diese Spaltung der Geschichten. Hier beginnt dann ihre. Er ist jetzt unterwegs, ne, das haben wir ja alles gesehen, sammelt seine Leute ein und was macht sie jetzt?
Raymond is alone, studying a map on the table.
Finally, I was waiting for you.
He starts, smiling at you. Sorry, I was more tired than I thought.
Not a problem. Come, I have an important assignment for you. You'll have to choose our first move. We need allies. We won't win this war on our own. Close to the Amarantar border, to the southeast, some new creatures have founded their colonies. They fled there after our deplorable experiments at Balinor. Northeast, on the other hand, close to the Tibosh border, you'll find a sylph dwelling. I need one of them to embrace our cause. You'll have to come back with a new alliance.
Why not both?
I doubt we'll have the time.
Gut, nur Zeit für einen neuen Alliierten. Da nehmen wir mal Amarantar. Nehmen wir mal das.
You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast horse and grab your trusty bow, a knife, and a short sword and leave immediately. You're headed to the Amarantar border. After traveling for a couple of days, you finally locate an abandoned shed close to Roland. You explore the area, discovering it to be an old farm. Magic has permanently marked the ground. You remember the stories you'd heard when you were a child. This could be where Leon was hid when he was 6. 2 large trees rise in the distance, close to the hills. If you're in the right place, those should be Swan and Dal. You dismount your horse and leave the abandoned shed behind to head to the first tree, never losing sight of the surrounding landscape. It's a perfect hiding spot for creatures altered by magic. They could prosper here and reproduce. All around you, you can see weird clusters of imprints. They belong to clawed paws with 3 phalanxes. Judging by the size, you think they could belong to the Greystorm. Remembering your childhood in Balinor and the legends about them, they should be the creatures you're looking for. But where are they hiding? A little further off, you notice a ravine in it. You have made up your mind and gather some supplies right away. You choose a fast horse and grab your trusty bow, a knife, and a short sword and leave immediately. You're headed to the Amarantar border. After traveling for a couple of days, you finally locate an abandoned shed close to Roland. You explore the area, discovering it to be an old farm. Magic has permanently marked the ground. You remember the stories you'd heard when you were a child. This could be where Leon was hid when he was 6. 2 large trees rise in the distance, close to the hills. If you're in the right place, those should be Swan and Dahl. You dismount your horse and leave the abandoned shed behind to head to the first tree, never losing sight of the surrounding landscape. It's a perfect hiding spot for creatures altered by magic. They could prosper here and reproduce. All around you, you can see weird clusters of imprints. They belong to clawed paws with 3 phalanxes. Judging by the size, you think they could belong to the Greystorm. Remembering your childhood in Balinor and the legends about them, they should be the creatures you're looking for. But where are they hiding? A little further off, you notice a ravine in a hill's rock. As you approach it, a voice in the distance makes your hair stand on end.
I got the belly, I dunk the head. I'm Jebediah, I chase death away.
The chanting becomes more macabre.
Oh, the scent of fresh blood. Sweet nectar for these old bones.
A small creature, thin and wrinkled, appears from the cave. You study him closely as he stretches and yawns. Many of his teeth are missing, and his thin hair is white. He's a gnome, and most likely the keeper of the magical beasts you're looking for, or perhaps some sort of shepherd for his flock. He's wearing iron boots and worn-out pants. A blunt cleaver hangs from his side.
8 or 10, not 7 nor 9.
He sings with a sinister, shrill voice. You'd like to hide, but only a few paces of open air separate the two of you. You're about to meet him, and you try to think on how you should greet him.
Ah, no! Not running water! Go away, damn spirits! Don't touch my soul!
He finally notices you. You study each other for a while. Then he smiles and takes the cleaver.
Well, well, what have we here? A young little boy, anxious to help an old man. Come, boy, come. Of course you can help me. For starters, you could die.
He jumps at you, faster than you would have expected. You'd heard talk about this type of experiment, and you know that all survivors were driven to madness. They were called Red Masks. The power of Earth deeply altered them. You need to defend.
Ja, gut, dass ich das Mikro immer wieder ausschalte. Eine kleine Niesattacke gehabt. Meine Güte, das war nicht schön. Aber ich habe das alles ja mitbekommen. Ich hoffe, man hat es nicht allzu sehr gehört. Na jedenfalls, auf ihn warten erscheint mir irgendwie unlogisch. Ihn anstürmen oder auf ihn schmeißen? Auf ihn was schmeißen, das ist gut.
You opt for the dagger and hurl one at your opponent. He's running at you like a madman, too crazy to slow down. Agile as he is, he can neither dodge nor block your attack. This was the best you could do. Any other tactic would have meant facing him in a melee fight. Jebediah could have wounded you. The dagger stabs the gnome's throat and he falls down, drowning in his own blood. The moment has passed. Now you can go inside the cave to find out what's next.
Ja, das mache ich gleich. Und man sieht, da hat die englische Übersetzung noch nicht gegriffen. Das ist dann wohl noch italienisch. Entry nella grotta. Ja, dann machen wir das.
You're on the cave's threshold. You thought it'd be dark and cold, but of course, Jebediah did live here. Torches burn along the walls. The cavern goes deep under the hill, and the same tracks you found earlier reappear. You muster up your courage, take a deep breath, and walk in. These are your first steps to a new chapter of your life, to a new Ancoran. You enter the cave, following the footsteps. There's a wooden door on one of the stone walls, and you're curious. It could be Jebede's lodging. You wield your weapon and thrust the door open, trying to surprise whoever may be inside. Nobody. The room you find is austere. You only see a bed and a desk with a stool, where you find an inkwell and a couple of parchments. You go through them, and the signature at the bottom of a page catches your eye. You open your eyes wide and read carefully. Dear Jebede, solitude must be eating you alive, but I want you to know the work you've done so far is of unfathomable importance. I haven't heard from you in a while. Are the beasts fine? Is the livestock ready? There are only hope, and we need many. On the last letter I received, now over 2 months ago, I read the magic whistle has served its purpose. I'm glad. We created it so that the Grey Storm could follow all our orders. They will be precious allies for the Resistance. Please, this time reply. The last messenger came back without your letter. Thank you for everything you're doing. Raymond. Raymond? You whisper, confused? This discovery is disturbing. Raymond knew of the livestock. He knew exactly where it was, and he just sent you here unprepared. Why? Jebede was a faithful servant, at first. Then, Raymond didn't receive any more news of him. He grew suspicious and sent a new letter. You believe the messenger must have never come back, so the High Wizard decided to send you here to find out what happened. Still, he had no reason to lie and deceive you. You didn't think Raymond could start a Greystorm herd. You ponder over the issue. A part of you feels let down. Raymond allowed magic experiments on humans and animals. Despite all the damages, he still hasn't stopped. You're furious. You'd like to choke the life out of him. Despite this, the Resistance was born to oppose Leon, a dangerous wizard. Maybe the most dangerous since Triumvar Lotanor's times. Raymond banished from Balinor all the wizards who disobeyed his orders. Maybe the Greystorm herd is just a part of the plan to fight Leon. Raymond used Jebede, another creature that probably got out of hand. The High Wizard has made a few too many mistakes, but you'd like to believe they were all based on good intentions. He's living a constant struggle between hope and vengeance. As you read through the letter again and move some parchments, you find a silver whistle. It's a long and narrow object, which allows control over the Greystorms. You take it and hang it around your neck as a pendant. This whole issue is tormenting you. You need to make an important decision.
Okay, mit so einer relativ frühen Entwicklung bei dem Ganzen habe ich gar nicht gerechnet. Also ich hätte gedacht, es wäre so geradlinig, aber hier schon so ein bisschen Geheimniskrämerei. Okay. Ist es naiv zu glauben, dass das jetzt alles für die Resistance war oder nicht? Oder... Eieieiei. Sie hat jetzt die Kontrolle über das. Über die Tierchen.
The end justifies the means. Raymond is pulling every trick up his sleeve to oppose Leon. He didn't bring you up to speed about that cursed place simply because he couldn't do it in the Ismaran forest. You decide this is the version you want to believe, and leave Jebede's room to keep tracking the imprints. The dimly lit tunnel takes you to a crossroads. The tracks go in both directions. You need to follow your instincts. You smell the air. A stale stench comes from one way, while a pungent, rotting smell comes from the other. You're not tempted by either tunnel, but you need to choose where to go.
Würfeln wäre jetzt eine gute Sache, wa? Beide sind nicht besonders. Ich nehme das obere. Irgendwann muss man ja nehmen. War wohl nicht die gute Entscheidung. Schon wieder ein Schlingel. Nicht schön. Hey, den Namen kenne ich doch. Lebrolachs.
The tunnel takes you into a huge cavern with a bog in its center. That's where the stench is coming from. The torches only light the environment up to the bank. There's no trace of the gray storm. You took the wrong road, but you don't have the time to regret it, nor to turn back on your heels. An odd, splashing sounds on the rocky walls. A gargantuan snake's snout surfaces from the water. It's horrifying. The only weapon you have with you is your short sword. But perhaps most importantly, you have very little time to act. The creature is hungry, and its yellow eyes glow in the dark like flaming torches. It jumps at you. Will you dodge it, or try to counter it with an attack?
Vorhin hat das funktioniert, Dodge also ausweichen.
Great choice. You manage to unsheath your short sword. You have an open chance to hit the beast, but you need to pick where it'd be best to wound it. One single mistake could be lethal. You have options, but there is only one correct choice. The snake's head is at an arm's distance from your blade, and its jaws are snapping at the empty air, trying to catch you. Its skin is scaly and thick. The palate is softer, and the eyes are enveloped in a milky coating as its tongue keeps darting in the air. It keeps hissing menacingly. You need to assess whether your blade could easily sink in the snake's skin, a large but sturdy target, beheading it. Otherwise, you could pierce its eye. It is the most sensitive part. Small though it is, it wouldn't take more than a movement from your wrist to wound it. As a final option, you could drive the sword through the creature's skull.
Vorhin war es das Auge.
Your short blade flashes to the snake's eye, sinking in deeply. The monster cries out a dreadful moan and soon turns into a condensed, dew-like formation, which evaporates into a cloud of mist. It's a magical creature, and you haven't beaten it yet. The mist heads towards you. To try and stop it, you could lash at the air with your sword, take a torch from the wall, or flee.
Nehmen wir das.
It's a desperate and futile gesture. The mist envelops you and you can't help but breathe it. The being in such a gas state is lethal. It enters from your nostrils and resumes its original form, turning you into pulp.
Das war also nicht gut. Dann nochmal und diesmal die
Your short
Torch.
blade flashes to the snake's eye, sinking in
Gucken, ob
deeply.
Feuer da
The
jetzt
monster
ein bisschen
cries
besser
out.
ist.
You grab a torch off the wall with your free hand. You wave your make-do weapon against the mist coming at you. The mist begins sizzling, exhaling inarticulate moans. Then the monster resumes its original form. One eye is still torn and bleeding, and now the snake's furious, as it couldn't overpower you. Fearing a new attack, you theorize the creature might be able to turn into a liquid state, besides just a solid and gas one. Your prediction saves your life. In that very moment, the being turns into a water pillar, ready to pour down on you. Should it envelop you, you'll drown. In any case, the monstrosity can't keep its alternative state for too long. Will you stab the water pillar and wait for it to turn back to its solid state? Wave the torch in front of the magic beast? Or simply dodge and drive the sword through its other eye as soon as it resumes its original state?
Das könnte funktionieren vielleicht.
Once more, you deem that dodging the monster's blow is the best decision. The water pillar splashes to the ground just a few inches from you. You've done a great job so far. Now, you need to be quick and put an end to this crazed fight. The snake takes on its original form, but it's exhausted. It studies you with its one good eye. Now's your moment. You pounce on the eye. The creature cries so loud your eardrums hurt, but you run without waiting for its next move. You take the tunnel back to the crossroads, going the other way this time.
Jo, mach mal den anderen Weg.
The tunnel delves deep under the hill, seemingly endless. The torches are lit everywhere, and the stench becomes more and more intense. Roars and huffs echo on the stone walks until you come by an unusual scenario. The smell is nauseating. It comes from the Greystrom's excrements and their skin. There are several dozen of the animals, larger than horses, with their powerful four-fingered paws, their beaked snouts, and their pointy tails. They smell you as you come in, and turn in your direction. The Greystorm are used to Jebediah. You're a stranger. Their roars aren't promising, but you have the solution. You quickly take the whistle and blow inside. No sound comes out. The livestock whine some weak remonstration and quiet down. How did Jebediah control all of them? You try to talk to them, even though you feel stupid. I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want you to hurt me. I need your help. Please, follow me. Nothing better comes to mind. You go back the way you came in from, towards the cave's exit. You proceed cautiously, looking back from time to time to see if your idea is working. It is. The whistle interacts with air magic, allowing the Greystorm to understand your language. Despite the surreal situation you're in, you feel satisfied. Now, you'll take them to Ismarin, but it will take longer than you think. The herd is big and fearsome. You'll need to learn to subdue it. You doubt it will be as easy as bringing them out of the cave. You'll have to keep away from towns and villages, hoping no creature rebels. You hope Raymond knows what to do with them. Now, you'll leave for Ismarin, trying not to cause any harm along the way. You're leading the fearsome herd. The Greystorms are way too many to hope to move unnoticed. They're wild, and you have no idea how Jebediah used the whistle. Nor did you find any instructions in his lodging. You'll need to go at it by trial and error, even though you did manage to get them moving with one simple blow. You'd like to move faster, but maybe it's for the best. Avoiding any town or village, you head for the Uriatar forest, even though it might be dangerous. You go in first, in exploration, to ensure everything is all right. The same whistle you employed to get them moving manages to stop them. Crossing the forest with the whole herd will be quite the endeavor. Besides, rumors say it's cursed. You don't believe such talk. Dead magic is ancient. Nobody uses it anymore. Some paces in, you notice the vegetation is rotting. You'd like to walk back right away, but the path is gone. A hooded figure, robed in black, heads your way. It's chilling. He removes his hood, revealing a pale face with white hair and crimson red eyes. The albino has a black sword at his side, inscribed with dark and incomprehensible runes.
You've entered into my domain, Sylph. What do you want?
I didn't know the forest was your dwelling. I need to cross it with my beasts, you reply, with a shaky voice.
There are many who don't know, and many who die. However, I always grant one chance to live.
The Greystorm are far behind. Who knows what they might do while you are away? But you can't run from this. Who are you?
The necromancer.
He replies. He raises his pale hand, and your eyes close as you fall to the ground in a deep slumber.
Sleep now. Let's see what you can do.
You're suddenly in a large field with colored tulips sprinkled all over. A sense of peace and quiet washes over you. You smile as you admire the landscape, until a powerful and mighty creature appears. He has an old man's face, with piercing eyes and sharp teeth that could shred anything. The rest of the body is
Schon beim nächsten
revolting.
oder wie? Also diese Fehlerchen müssten dann noch beseitigt werden. Jetzt fehlt der Text. Oh. Abomination. Okay. Ja. Naja gut, ist jetzt nicht so extrem viel Text, aber das hat es ja gerade vorgelesen. Das war ja überwiegend ein bisschen falsch, aber man konnte sich ja nichts darunter vorstellen. Ne? You're suddenly in a large field with colored tulips sprinkled all over. A sense of peace and quiet washes over you. You smile as you admire the landscape until a powerful and mighty creature appears. Here's an old man's face with piercing blue eyes and sharp teeth that could shred anything. The rest of the body is revolting. The right arm is that of a gorilla, whereas his left arm is an elephant trunk. The torso is plumed with ostrich feathers and the legs are feline. Also Katzenbeine oder so, ne? It's the abomination. Welcome, Ancoran. Are you ready for your test? If you fail, you shall become my meal. His honey-like voice isn't threatening. This is all normal to him. Let's begin, you reply, fully aware you couldn't refuse him anyway. If you can solve some riddles, I'll let you go. Here's the first one. It disrobes when it gets cold. What is it? I'll devour you if you're wrong. Das heißt ja so viel wie es entkleidet sich, wenn es kalt wird. Müsste der Baum sein.
I'm sorry, my dear.
Nein.
You must die.
Your heart skips a beat. You try to run, but can't. As in a nightmare, your legs are stiff and paralyzed. The abomination opens his jaws and devours you.
Okay, dann habe ich irgendwie das Falsche gedacht. Dann nehmen wir halt den Berg.
That's correct. Well done.
The abomination tells you as one of his arms vanishes.
Let's continue. I will burn to not reveal. Who am I? Ere then you shall be eaten.
Ich wünsche, das Ganze wäre auf Deutsch. Das wäre vielleicht ein bisschen verständlicher. Was heißt denn das jetzt eigentlich? Ich muss echt mal nachschauen, was dieses Wort bedeutet. Das ergibt sich mir gerade nicht aus dem Kontext. Ja, so ist das eben, wenn man es halt eben nicht als Muttersprache hat. Englisch relativ gut, aber manchmal ist der Kontext halt eben... Ja, ich benutze gerade das Handy. Und schau mir hier nach einem Übersetzer, der mir gerade... Reveal, ach so. Wenn man, die Übersetzung heißt verraten, also etwas verraten, dann könnte Papier Sinn machen. Ja, wenn es verbrannt wird, verrät es ja nichts mehr. Also falls was draufsteht.
I'm sorry, my dear. You must die.
Your heart skips a beat.
Ja.
That's correct. Well done.
The abomination tells you as one of his arms vanishes.
Let's continue. I will burn to not reveal.
Ich nehme es auf Stroh.
I'm sorry, my dear. You must
Hier verliere ich aber ganz schön viel von diesem Leben.
That's correct. Well done.
The abomination tells you?
I'm sorry, my dear. You
bleibt dann noch übrig?
must
Wachs?
die.
Okay,
That's correct. Well done.
toll.
The abomination tells you.
Wenn du noch mehr
It's the
Fragen hast,
mother.
ist das Ding hier vorbei, ey.
Great work, child. Shall we continue?
The creature kindly asks as one of the legs disappears into nothingness. Of course. You start thinking you just might make it.
Good. The warmer, the fresher. What is it? Answer this riddle.
Oh, jetzt, Moment. Einer ist jung, einer ist alt. Der Junge ist... ist der Sohn. Aber der Alte ist nicht sein Vater. Also Onkel und Bruder fallen ja mal raus.
I doubt I've ever met someone else with such an innate rational sense. I'm glad. Eating you will be hard, but I'll pull through.
Says the abomination as one more limb vanishes. The body keeps floating in the air. The head keeps looking at you with its seemingly harmless smile. But he could kill you in an instant.
Another answer to another question. With open eyes you won't find it, but keep them closed and it might come. What is it? I'm sure you won't answer this correctly.
Okay, der Text passt hier nicht mehr zu dem, was mir hier angezeigt wird. So. Okay. Je warmer, je wärmer, umso frischer. Fisch? Nein. Fleisch? Nein. Bleiben nur noch das Brot und das Ei. Ich versuch's mal mit dem Brot.
I'm sorry, my dear. You must die.
Saugeil,
Your
falscher
heart
Text.
skips a beat. You try to run, but can't.
Falscher Text. Falsche Frage. Also dieses Quiz funktioniert mit dem Text nicht besonders und das Ding baut langsam ab. Also das sind Fehler, die hier noch definitiv beseitigt werden müssen. Gut. Dann wollen wir. I doubt I've ever met someone else with such an innate rational sense. I'm glad. Eating will be hard, but I'll pull through, says the abomination as one more limb vanishes. Das ist der Text, der vorher schon vorgelesen wurde, glaube ich zumindest. The body keeps floating in the air. The head keeps looking at you with its seemingly harmless smile, but it could kill you in an instant. Another answer to another question. With open eyes you won't find it, but keep them closed and it might come. What is it? I'm sure we won't answer this correctly. Mit offenen Augen wirst du es nicht finden, aber halte sie geschlossen und es könnte kommen. Ja. Könnte Schlaf sein.
Without even the time for a witty reply, the abomination's head disappears, together with...
Das Ding ist schon einen Schritt weiter. The creature's torso disappears, leaving but a fattening head of face of you. Head to face you. Oh. You need to answer one more riddle to beat him. Well done, Ancoran. Let's see how this next one will go. It's grey when you get it, red when you use it, black when it's done. What is it? Er ist grau, wenn du es bekommst, rot, wenn du es benutzt und schwarz. Ich habe eine Vermutung. Ha. Das könnte es sein. Das könnte die Holzkohle sein.
I'm sorry, my dear.
Schon wieder falsch. Also das mit dem Text passt nicht so ganz zusammen. Without even time for a ready reply, the abomination's head disappears, together with a dream. Everything fades to black, and you feel like you're falling. You wake up screaming, nobody is inside. The vegetation is back to normal, and the sun filters through the trees. The necromancer is gone. You've been granted the right to cross the forest.
Your intuition, however, is wrong. Not long after, the necromancer appears again, with a strange smile on his face, and a tray full of food. You watch him in shock. What is it this albino wants?
I know precisely what you must be thinking. What you're seeing is not common, and neither is my behavior.
He explains. Exactly. Who are you and what do you want? Why did you put a spell on me earlier? And why are you offering me food now?
Well, who I am and where I come from is a bit hard to explain, but I'll do my best. My name wouldn't mean anything to you. I'll avoid it. And trust me, you're much better off. I am a necromancer, and as I've already mentioned, I am not of this world. I've been confined here after fighting against the lords of law and chaos. I need to find a way back to my world, to finish what I've started. But I can't do it alone.
But you're a necromancer, a sorcerer. What's stopping you? You ask, curious.
An enigma.
He replies. An enigma? What?
Let's eat first. Then I'll show it to you.
You accept the albino's offer, and you both eat from the tray he brought. Then, you get up, and you follow him to what seems to be the center of the forest. On the ground you see a pentagram, but all around it the trees and plants seem sculpted and shaped into animals. 4, to be precise. A dragon, a scorpion, a falcon, and a polar bear. Looking at the pentagram closely, you notice the same animals have been drawn in several sections of the creation. At its center, you read an inscription. In Mother's circle, Alpha returns to Omega, and order is restored. The flame breather dominates the feathered peregrine in flight, towering over it in the air with its fiery breath. The sharpest eye wins against the poisonous one with its sharp beak. The stinging purple poisons the blood of the snowy fir, whose frost flakes extinguish the rage of the flaming winged beast. The sound of screeching teeth. But Mother can play games. The order is reversed, and the Alpha won't meet the Omega. The circle is lost in the chaos of creation.
As I told you, it's an enigma. But since I come from another plane of existence, I don't know the principles of your magic, and I can't solve this riddle to activate the pentagram and go home.
The first thing that comes to mind is that whoever prepared such a spell is bound to the 4 elements. You know that in the past, besides Leon, there were only 3 other wizards who could control all the elements. But you can't figure out who would have tried to create such a mystery. It all seems so random, but you know he won't let you go until you've helped him. Well, I can tell you the animals represent the elements of nature, and that all magic revolves around them. So I think you should place your feet on the correct drawings in the right order before you can activate the pentagram. He shakes his head.
I already thought it might work like this. But I already tried it. No tile became active. I think only a being from this world can activate them, and you're here now.
His words sound sincere, but you don't know how to do it. After all, this man already cursed you to sleep, making you go through hell in your nightmares. Why should I help you? After what you did to me earlier, I don't think I'm too willing to help. You reply, standoffish.
I understand, but I had to see if you're clever. And you are. Now either you can help me, or you're useless. And in that case, you've already seen what I can do with one wave of my hand.
You know you don't have much of a choice. He just threatened you. But what shocks you the most is his condescending attitude. All right, let's begin. He takes a step back, giving you enough space to begin. You need to think carefully, or this might be the end of you. What shall you activate first?
Puh, eine sehr gute Frage. Flamme über Luft. Skorpion gegen... Ja, hier gibt es jetzt... Ich würde sagen, der Drache zuerst.
As you shift your weight to the tile, you feel the whole structure tremble, and suddenly a chasm opens right under your feet. You fall in a pit, and your scream only dies out when you hit the spike protruding from the ground below. Your reasoning was wrong. The 4 creatures represent the single elements in the natural order of things, with their strengths and weaknesses. The dragon, called Flame Breather or Flaming Beast, represents fire. The falcon, or Feathered Peregrine and Sharpest Eye, is air. The scorpion, Poisonous One and Stinging Purple, is earth. While the polar bear, or Snowy Fur, is closest to water. The dragon wins against the falcon. The falcon beats the scorpion, which in turn defeats the bear, which defeats the dragon. This is the natural order of things. But nature can play games, and the order has been broken, so you should have moved in the opposite direction. It shouldn't have been dragon, falcon, scorpion, polar bear, but polar bear, scorpion, falcon, dragon. The ill reasoning is what led to your death. But you'll have plenty of time to think about it, since the spike that stabbed you wounded your internal organs and went through the back and the stomach. It'll take hours for you to die.
Ich kenne das eigentlich nur als Feuer, Wasser, Luft, Erde. Hier ist ein Hinweis, glaube ich, ne?
Your intuition, however, is wrong. Your reasoning is working out. You understood that since nature can play games, you're continuing along the right sequence. 2 more steps and you'll have... You were afraid at every single step, but you perfectly figured out the riddle, identifying the animals representing each element, and placing them in the correct order, then reversing it as suggested by the enigma, which talks of a capricious nature that should, however, still be respected. You take one last step on the dragon's likeness, and suddenly the pentagram unravels, a blinding blue light springing up from its center.
You did it.
The albino rejoices. You turn to him. The beads of sweat on your forehead are glistening. I got lucky,
I'll owe you for the rest of my life.
he says, before leaning in to kiss you. You didn't see that coming. The necromancer's lips are as warm as his hands, and you only now notice how handsome he is.
Goodbye, my dear. I shall never forget you.
He claims, as he moves towards the bright pillar. Goodbye, you whisper, your heart beating in your throat. He had a strange effect on you. You stop and watch him as he gets sucked in by the plane portal, and suddenly, the light goes out. All the portraits you walked on disappear as well. The forest, which had been silent up till now, is returning to life with birdsong. It's time to resume your journey. You head back to your horse and blow your whistle to call the gray storms. After patiently waiting for them to arrive, you cross the forest, heading to Ismarin, ready to help Raymond. As you enter the Ismarin forest with the gray storms, you immediately notice something's off. It's too quiet, and there's not one guard in sight. Your heart beating strong in your chest, you head to the rebels' camp at the center of the forest. 4 strangers are mumbling together. They are an elf and 3 humans. They notice your arrival, along with your odd livestock, right away. You whistle to stop the creatures. Who are you? You ask carefully.
My name is Palisar, and these are the men Dargast recruited. We're waiting for him.
Starts the elf. 1,000 questions rush through your head. You need to set some priorities. You'd like to know where Daragast is, what happened to the camp, and why Raymond isn't there.
So, dann gucken wir mal, was hier jetzt bei rauskommt. Wenn wir mit ihr die Befragung machen.
Where is Raymond?
He was killed by a hitman in Satrapur. He designated me as the Resistance's leader while he was to come back here to Ismarin. Unfortunately, he never left the city. After finding out Leon was planning to attack us, he guided us to Satrapur, where he wanted to organize our defenses. However, he didn't have the time. So I decided to come here to wait for you. Now, we only need Daragast.
You're in shock. Raymond's death is a bad blow, and Leon is on the move. I just need to rest.
Of course. Find a lodging and take your time. We won't be moving for a while.
Adds Palisar.
What are these animals?
Bal asks. They're Greystorm. I got them and led them here as Raymond ordered. We'll use them in battle.
They're definitely gonna help.
Ulist replies. Finally, you can get some rest from the road as you wait for Daragast with the others.
So, nachdem wir wieder mal keine Vertonung haben, ich hoffe, das ändert sich dann noch beim Release, und nachdem die Vertonung beim Rätsel nicht ganz korrekt war, naja, gut. A few days go by and finally you hear Dargast's voice. Finally, we were only waiting for you, Deadbeat, you start with a patched up smile. I'm glad to see you too, he replies. After the quick exchange, the other call your attention. Palisar catches Dargast up on the current situation. He looks extremely worried, asking many questions. Finally, you decide to leave for Satrapur as soon as Dargast gets some rest.
Upon reaching Satrapur, you find out all the other wizards of the Resistance are dead too. The situation is dire. Daragast's sword is the last magical defense against Leon. You nostalgically think back to Raymond and the hopes he had for you. But you're not a leader, and you think Palisar will be a worthy successor. Everyone is, in their own way, trying to keep up the rebels' morale. Timos is trying harder than anyone. He's a tall, massive man, and a skilled strategist. He's tight with Palisar. You, Ulist, Bal, Carcass, and Daragast all swear loyalty to the cause, inspiring everyone's awe. However, you would like to understand how Raymond died. You ask around, starting a small investigation, until you're approached by a boy as you're talking to a few of his friends.
Hello, Ancoran.
What's your name?
Phil.
He replies, blushing. He looks torn, but since he's shy, you'll have to strike the right chord. Come, sit with us. The boy gladly accepts, and also takes the beer stein you've offered him.
So, what is it, boy?
Carcass asks, convivial as usual.
I heard you're looking for Raymond's assassin.
You all look at each other silently.
Talk, Phil.
Ulist urges him on.
I'm scared.
Don't worry, you're safe with us.
Bal adds. The boy musters up some courage and spills the beans.
The other night, I heard Timos talking to someone. I couldn't recognize him, but he was boasting about how he killed the wizards. He said the Resistance is reaching its true goal. How only Leon is left.
Are you sure that's what you heard? You ask, shocked. He nods firmly, even though he's afraid and nervous.
Could it be Palisar, the man he was talking to?
Ulist asks.
No, I know his voice. But he might be involved, since they're friends.
Phil answers. Go now, boy. Don't mention this to anyone. You tell him, looking him straight in the eyes. The boy leaves, disappearing in the night lights.
What do we do?
Ball asks. Declares Daragast, and you agree.
Let's wait for the dead of night first.
Ullist proposes. You're the assassin. We need him to answer our questions before we kill him. You all agree and wait for darkness to shroud you. Finally, you sneak out of your lodging. Ullist shuts his mouth closed and holds a knife against his throat. Harkus points his sword at him, and you, Daragast, and Ball tower over him.
Hello, Timos. If you don't answer our questions, Ball will make you suffer like hell.
The man opens his eyes wide and fails to hold his bladder for the terror. You sign at Ullist, and he lets the man's mouth go. What's your first question? Did you kill Raymond?
No!
See, I don't believe you. Try and be more talkative. You nod at Ball, and he unsheathes a knife, cutting out a finger from the man's hand. Ullist stops the man's mouth again, choking back a scream. Timos understands you're not playing games. You can keep interrogating him. Who did it? Suddenly, a black, square-bladed dagger slits his throat, and the words die in his mouth. There's a hole in the tent, and you all run outside. The situation is escalating. You quickly run out of the tent, and 2 more darts jolt towards you. Your friends are held back, and you find yourself alone, staring into Palisar's eyes. Says the elf. You shouldn't have killed Raymond, you reply. Before he prepares another dart, you have to attack. You also hear footsteps behind you, and you understand Palisar isn't alone. Your friends are already busy fighting someone else. Since they were held back, you're going to have to take this fight alone, ending it as swiftly as possible. You move forward, unsheathing both your sword and your dagger, and the elf mirrors you. The dim light is enough to study the opponent. Palisar is in a defensive stance, barely exposing his left leg. You should figure out how to best attack. Maybe you could try to open his defense, stabbing at him. Or you could try to bind him to disarm him. Or, finally, you could try a direct blow to his front leg.
So, nachdem ich ein paar Taschentücher benutzt habe, um irgendwie meine Erkältung hier loszuwerden, zumindest ein bisschen. Das ist dieselbe Situation wie in der Folge zuvor mit Dargast, und da hat Frontleg nicht gut funktioniert. Stabben müsste hier auch funktionieren können.
You stab at the elf with your left hand, keeping your right arm in guard to parry an eventual counterattack, which arrives promptly. Palisar is a fearsome foe, and breaking his guard won't be easy. He parried your attack with a smooth movement of his dagger, unleashing a swift slash at you. You have to block it. But how? Should you take an ox defense stance, lifting your sword horizontally above your head? Or a 2-horned guard stance, keeping the blade vertical, as if you were a unicorn?
In dem Fall gefällt mir das besser.
It's really the only viable option. You parry the blow and carry on your attack. Now, should you try a middle blow to the side, or a cutting slash?
Slash down.
Trying this attack now completely throws your weight forward. You still have your dagger plunged ahead, and the violence of your blow shifts all your weight against the enemy. Palisar is clever, though. He dodges the attack, moving to the side, outstretching a leg and tripping you. You fall to the ground, shocked, and try to roll over. But to no avail. The enemy's blade is swifter. It drives through your back, nailing you to the ground.
Gut, dann nicht. Ei. Das geht hier aus.
It's really the only viable
Nehmen wir halt das
option. You
Mittelblau.
parry the blow and carry on your attack. A good choice, but predictable. You're trying not to get wounded and tire Palisar out. He backs out and parries the attack. But thanks to the inertia, you moved your dagger back. Now you can wait out for his next attack. Or try to press him, binding against his blade to disarm him.
Den Text habe ich ja schon in der vorherigen Folge gehört. Machen wir doch mal. Sollte funktionieren. Ich hoffe.
Your move is worthy of a master swordsman. You look for Palisar's dagger, tricking him in. With a quick wrist movement, you disarm him, leaving him only his sword and a shocked expression. You have to take advantage of this new situation to press him on. Should you try to disarm him of the sword as well? Or press him on, attacking him with both your weapons?
Ich glaube, das war Press him.
To press on your opponent, you start assailing him with a flurry of blows he can't dodge. It doesn't take long before you manage to wound his knee. Finally, you pierce one of his lungs and Palisar gasps for air. You won't get the information you were looking for, but at least you took down an enemy. You turn to your comrades, who are doing fine, fortunately. Now you'll have to choose what to tell the other rebels and the city of Satrapor.
Uiuiui. Nochmal Action hier zum Schluss und bevor es weitergeht, ist auch hier in der Beta zu Ende. Das war The Beginning mit Ancoran. Und ja, wie es dann weitergeht, werden wir ja noch mitbekommen. Sobald dann der Release da ist, dann geht es ja auch mal schön weiter. Bis dahin gibt es definitiv noch eine weitere Folge, denn The Beginning mit Leon steht noch aus. Und ich hoffe, dass meine Nieserei nicht zu hören war. Und wenn doch, ja, mei, hat mal so eine Erkältung halt an sich, ne? Dass man ein bisschen schneuzt und niest und sowas, ne? Ja, jedenfalls, danke fürs Zuschauen. Ich hoffe, ihr könnt ein paar Toten entgehen. Wisst, wie man 2, 3 Rätsel löst. Und dann schauen wir uns Leon nochmal an. Bis dahin.